Live from Fleetown, USA in Forest City, North Carolina. Hi there, folks. This is Corky Kaericher, and you're listening to the Flea Market Guide podcast, brought to you by TheFleaMarketGuide.com, the show that brings you everything you need to know to get started and grow and prosper as a flea market seller in your flea market this weekend. Are you ready to take action? I know I am, so let's get started. This is episode 3 of the Flea Market Guide podcast. Hi folks, this is Corky Kaericher, and I have to apologize for the quality of the recording you're about to listen to, my interview with Matt Giovanisci of MoneyLab.co. I also have to apologize to my guest Matt. I'm not very good at this recording technology thing, so if any of you in the audience are studio recording engineers who would like to give me a hand with this, get a hold of me via the contact form at TheFleaMarketGuide.com, and let's talk about how you can help me make better recordings for those of you who are listening. Enjoy the show. And again, I'm Corky Kaericher, your host on the Flea Market Guide. Hey there, folks. This is Corky Kaericher, and this is the Flea Market Guide podcast, episode 3. Today I'm going to be speaking with Matt Giovanisci. Matt is an online entrepreneur who's been doing things for quite a while with the internet now, and I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about himself and how he got where he is today. And then I'm going to take you through 10 strict brand rules that Matt adheres to online to, as he puts it, keep himself honest. And they struck me, and it's why I wanted to have him on the show today, as interesting rules that make a lot of sense for what we do in the flea market industry as well. So Matt, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So Matt, you've got the website MoneyLab.co, and I think that's your kind of primary home base online, right?
That's my personal home base, yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell us about what being an online entrepreneur is like for you, and got to where you are now, which is into a pretty impressive position from my point of view.
Yeah. So, what is it like to me to be like? What it means is I wake up when the sun comes up. I don't have an alarm, so I can wake up whenever I want to, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I make a very big long breakfast because I do enjoy cooking. So
that struck me on your website. Now I live in the country, and every Saturday morning it's time for eggs and biscuits and country ham and all that good stuff. But I saw your mention of a long breakfast, and it resonated because we in the flea market industry enjoy eating.
Yeah, and I do enjoy eating as well, and I have a long breakfast, and then I kind of sit down on my computer and I do whatever I want. I'm my own boss. It's up to me to make money. It's up to me to afford to live where I live. And so the days that I wake up and don't do anything, I'm only doing a disservice to myself, and it's great. I've been working, I've been actively a working person since I was 13 years old. I did not go to college. I worked instead. I worked in the pool industry for a very long time.
Yeah, and that's where your story picks up online, right? With Swim University?
Yeah, so I started this website back in 2006 called SwimUniversity.com, and before that, I worked at a bunch of different pool stores as a manager, assistant manager. I've been a service manager. I've been all these different. I've worn all these different hats, and I was in a rock band actually. Right when I was around 20 years old.
Anybody we've heard of?
No.
Okay.
It was an original rock band. We toured, up and down the East Coast, maybe once or twice. I think we were around for 4 or 5 years. We had an album and a half that came out. We've been on the radio here up in Philadelphia. I don't live in Philadelphia anymore, but kind of up in that area. And so we were doing that, and of course, when you're a musician, you're a starving artist, and we needed a website. This was back when MySpace was. I didn't even know MySpace existed. I didn't know anything about. There was no social media.
No, I know Matt. I know you've heard this one, but do you know the difference between a loaf of bread and a guitar player?
No.
The loaf of bread can feed a family of 4 for a week. Right. But moving on. Yeah. So being a starving musician called for a great inspiration, right? And
I had to learn. We needed a website. We needed some way to promote our band, and so I decided to learn how to design websites. And I did that. So I worked in the pool industry, and in the Northeast, you don't really sell pools in January. So
Right.
So I had a lot of downtime, and I spent that time, reading HTML books and CSS books and anything I could get my hands on, and trying to actually build a website for my band. And I succeeded, and it looked good because I have a little bit of design talent. So my boss ended up finding it, and then we ended up, I ended up working as the marketing director for this pool company.
The 90s were actually, you were in the early 2000s there, but that was a great time. Hey, I made a website. Hey, you're director of marketing.
Yeah. You know how to do this? You're the director of marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I started doing that, and I was like, all right, well, how do I marry this pool stuff with this website design skill? And I'm like, all right, I had this idea for some university, kind of ruminated on it for 2 years, and then in 2006, my friend actually was like, yo, you keep talking about this swim university nonsense. Why don't you actually build it? And I was like, all right. So I built it, and kind of been doing it for 10 years on and off. And then I was fired from my company. It wasn't a pool company. I'd worked for this restoration company as a marketing director.
I was going to say, now you're director of marketing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got laid off because they couldn't afford to keep me on anymore. So I was able to collect unemployment for a year.
Okay.
And I took that year. What happened was I kind of I knew it was coming, and so I'm like, if this happens, I'm basically going to treat it as the government giving me 1 year of trying to take my business off the ground. So what I did was I got unemployment for a year, but I gave myself just a year to take off, and I sold my car. I used to have a BMW because I had a nice job. I had a BMW. I had my own condo. I was kind of doing pretty well for myself, and I just sold everything, and I moved in with my younger brother and dropped my expenses from $5,000 a month to $1,300 a month, and basically did that for 2 years. So the first year I was on unemployment, and then that ran out, and I was like, all right, well, now it's do or die, and I wasn't going back and getting another job, and so I just did whatever it took, whether that was, making content on some university, or I had to take these odd jobs of designing websites for other clients.
So
just to survive.
So you got Swim University off the ground or underwater or whatever the appropriate metaphor is for that.
It's floating.
But yeah, it's flowing. So basically that's a business about teaching people how to better maintain their pools and hot tubs, right?
Yes.
So, and then probably, of course, by association, providing products and books and education and so on.
Exactly.
Right. So this business makes you 6 figures, and it took you 10 years to get there, but now. Mm-hmm. Now you have been into podcasting with Listen Money Matters and Driven, and then you've created the new educational website now about another liquid, one of my more preferred liquids, coffee, called Roasty. So is it called Roasty? What is that address?
It's roastycoffee.com.
Roastycoffee.com.
Yeah.
And so on that site, folks can learn how to brew a better cup and put a better smile on their face every morning. So.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Longer
awesome.
breakfast.
Yeah, long live the coffee. So you got into education online. Now, as a result of what you've done online, like so many people do after they master something, and it looks like once you get into the kind of numbers that you've shared with me that you're making with these businesses, you've mastered it. You tend to get into teaching, or get asked to teach, or get asked to coach, and so you've got Money Lab CO now, and on that site really, this is what prompted me to want to talk to you. Okay, so, I thought you were an interesting guy. I would probably have talked to you anyway. But nonetheless, in context of flea market business, which is what the Flea Market Guide is all about, it's helping people to start, grow, and prosper in the flea market industry. So, you have on your page here about yourself that when you launched into building a bigger brand around all of your different web properties, that you were going to keep 10 strict rules to keep yourself honest. And when I looked at those, I thought, first of all, if you're making rules for yourself, there's so many things that you have to overcome to become a successful entrepreneur. And then adding a bunch of arbitrary rules, that's just kind of sadistic. So let's look at what they are, though, because actually, in fact, they made a lot of sense. And I saw how they parallel to what we do when we help vendors get started with a professional flea market booth and step up from yard sailing once a month or so to really running a business that people know, love, and respect and come back to the flea market for repeatedly. So, here we go.
Can I dive into
start us down the list and tell us what they mean to you, and we'll just sit back and learn from the golden nugget bombs you're about to drop.
The whole idea of creating these rules came from a friend of mine who told me about Chuck Jones's Roadrunner rules. I did not know this was a thing until earlier this year. But the Roadrunner Coyote cartoons, like the Looney Tunes. Okay,
Yeah.
So Chuck Jones had this list of like 11 or 12 rules that every script had to follow when they created an episode. So to give you a for instance of what I mean is, the Roadrunner cannot harm the coyote except by going meep meep. So in every single episode, that's how the only way he could harm the coyote was that way.
Wow.
And the Roadrunner had to stay on the road, or else he's not a Roadrunner. The coyote couldn't stop any time if he were not a fanatic. No dialogue ever except meep meep and yowling in pain. And all of these different, there's actually 11 rules that these are.
Hold on,
rules.
I think I got one. Everything that is a manufactured product has to come from Acme Corporation.
That's exactly it. Yeah, all tools, weapons, or mechanical conveniences must be obtained from the Acme Corporation.
I know so little trivia about things like that, but for that one to stick so long, that means he really adhered to branding, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a brand rule. So so that way, all the Coyote or Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons were all kind of similar in how they functioned.
Hey, folks, that means we want people to kind of be able to expect the same things from you every weekend at the flea market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's the thing. So there's a few reasons why this makes sense to me to use it in the business world, because number one, people really like consistency. People expect a television show to be on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and people expect things to, people like routine and that consistency. And so I wanted to do that.
That actually was the theme of episode 2, really, by the end of it. Consistency. So now we're developing a really strong concept around consistency, folks. Now, hey, you said number 1. Let's start at number 1. Have fun, make money. I like your list. I want to keep looking back to that. Yeah, and
this is a list, again, that is a constraint. And whenever you build yourself into a box, it allows you to become more creative because there's more constraint around you. So the first rule is have fun, make money.
Amen.
Money. It's called Money Lab because we don't get into this business because we're passionate about it. We get into it because we want to make money so that we can use that money to fund what we're really passionate about. And it may be flea market or it may be online business. That may be our passion, but I can't pursue those passions unless I have a roof over my head and food, like a loaf of bread, perhaps. So. Money is important, and I don't want it to be, you don't have to make a ton of money, you just need to make money to survive and to have fun and to do all these things. So,
and that's an important thing about what we're doing here. I don't think anyone expects to make millions of dollars at a flea market, but it has been done, so I don't want to discourage anyone. That said, more realistically, we want to make money and have fun. Now, you put have fun first, and I really appreciate that, right there at the beginning of the list.
Well, because my second challenge that I've ever done on Money Lab made $0, but I had fun. Well, kind of. I tried to have fun, and that's really what,
what I see as your second challenge on Money Lab is rule number 2. Be honest and 100% transparent at all times. Now, that's a challenge.
Yeah, because it's really difficult to, do something and set out with a goal. Like, I wanted to make $10,000 selling sponsorships on roastycoffee.com, and I made $0. I made no money, and I had to say that because that's the rule, and also that's I didn't, people can look at it however they want to look at it. Some people will take it and say, wow, it's possible to not make money. And it's kind of like giving permission to fail, if you will. And say, okay, well, I failed this time. But I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to try harder, and then, maybe it'll work. Maybe I'll fail again. Maybe I'll fail over and over and over again. But the equal odds rule says that I'm probably going to, triumph at some point.
And I think it works because there's a discount store here in the small town that I live in, and one of the things they do in that store is put a sticker on every product they sell. On that sticker, it says the retail price. It says the store's price, where you can buy it right there, and then it has the lowest online price plus shipping. And sometimes that price beats them, but they're transparent about it. You can go home and you can go on Amazon or wherever and order this thing, but you can have it right now for like $2 more, right? So they make a lot of sales, and a lot of the things that I've heard when I've been in there looking for things to sell at the flea market, actually, because it's a deep discount kind of place, is that people really appreciate